WTJZ 1270 Newport News, 104.9 WHKT 1650 Portsmouth, and 92.5 powered by New Beach Grove Baptist Church, Beach Lawn Drive, Newport News, newbeachgrove.org. Dr. Willard Maxwell, pastor, Praise Radio.
And welcome to another edition of Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings. Oh, we look forward to this Thursday. We're going to be getting a little grimy here because you asked me to read the chapter on abortion in your book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community, which you can get on Amazon.com. But I did read that chapter, and of course it was very compelling. But I'm going to let you go ahead and kick it off and tell everybody what you want them to know about the book, about that chapter, and about abortion.
Okay, well, first of all, at this point, you may really need to purchase the book if you find this interesting, because there's so many quotes and statistics that we can't read them all on air and take care of it. So please, if you find this informational, please pick up the book. Now, we are very much so today going to get back to the book. We've had a few weeks, we've done some different things, and even with the book, we have dealt with, the issue of racism and such, and this really isn't about that. And so it is something near and dear to my heart, and as I began to study it, and I've spent hours studying this, I was shocked in that the whole idea of the book is to let people know just what our government has done at various times to hurt the Black community. And not only that, but there's a great cover-up, because there are things that take place, and they make sure that that topic stays out of the news. They make sure that you don't get to hear those things. And so there, for instance, there can be an issue where several Black individuals, and every individual is precious, every life, something tragic happens to them, and you'll see it over and over and over. But then we have this situation where millions are killed. And we have to focus on the other things. And hopefully we will get to the point that we cannot allow people to do that any longer. So there's a couple things. First of all, of course, we always enjoy having a caller. However, there's a few topics on the abortion that I'd like to stay off of, so that now is not the time to debate them. So for instance, I'm going to make a dogmatic statement and say that abortion is wrong, and there's nothing right about it. And so you may feel differently, but we're not here to debate that today. And the second thing is this, that if you have been involved with an abortion, there is forgiveness in Jesus Christ of everything. So as we talk about these things, what we do not want to do is have the enemy beat people down and discourage them or whatever. The wonderful thing about Christianity is not only does God forgive our sins, but he forgets them. And if they're brought up again, it's because we brought them up. And so please, last thing I would want to do with any of this is to cause someone issues. Now the third one is this, and this is going to surprise some people. I firmly believe that abortion and the business of abortion was originally pushed and originally established, making it legal, all types of things. It was done not necessarily for the rights of women. It was done to control the population of minorities, but of the Black community specifically. And I think that it has been a literal war on the Black community as the government attempts to control the population and manipulate and get the Black community to heal. H-E-E-L. And so we will be using that premise that abortion is used to control the population so there doesn't become too many black people. So we can talk about other things you want to call in, but we're not necessarily going to get into big debates on those. So I am going to first read, so you can sit back and drink your coffee, read some excerpts from the beginning of the chapter. And I want to do that in light of the fact that we have talked before that these things are predominantly made up, the conversations, they're fictitious, but there are facts and figures and truths that are in the statements. So here were my imaginary statements that I think are completely laced with the truth and the type of conversations that we'll see by quotes from people that actually did happen. So here we go. Imagine two people speaking. We need this to happen. If we don't, the population of the low income, feeble-minded, the criminals, will grow out of control. We can't take it. Our economy can't take it. We have to monitor and control these populations. But how? There was push for years and decades on birth control. There's been a sterilization program within this country toward black communities. And yet they keep having children. Yes, and these kids are costing us a fortune. We're paying for their housing. We're paying for their food. We're sending them checks each month that get larger every time they have another child. Our prisons are full. To make matters worse, they're pushing back. As the public becomes more aware as to what we've been doing, there will be more and more of an uproar. The stories are getting out. It doesn't matter anyway. These programs have not seen the results that we so desperately need. Then what? We need abortion legalized. We need it accepted. We need it accessible. And we need to promote it. We need a clinic on the corner of every low-income community in the country. Some larger inner cities need 4 to 5. We need to make going in for an abortion as easy and as acceptable as going in for a flu shot. Over the next 35 years, we need to see 19 million black babies aborted. That will mean by the year 2020, and again, this is a statement, this is a conversation that would happen in the early 70s. That will mean by 2020, there will be roughly 35 million less blacks than if we don't do that. This, along with an aggressive birth control program, just might keep these numbers at a workable number. But how in the world will we ever get them to agree to this? These are their babies we're talking about. You're kidding, right? They will fight with all their strength to make this happen. They'll do what we tell them to do. They will vote for whom we tell them to vote for. Now you're going to fast forward to another conversation. Look, we're in a bind here. We simply cannot afford to take care of these black families. Their families are becoming more and more families without a man in the house. That means we're the new dad. It's now up to us to provide housing, food, and a modest income. Where's that money going to come from? Well, so what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to take advantage of the legislation of abortion and help to convince these people an abortion is a good option, and often the best option. They're not going to continue to tolerate the sterilizations that we've done. We've jammed birth control completely down their throats. Every single time we provide for them in any way, they get educated again on birth control. Do you really think they will be open to abortion? These people have a strong history of family. I just don't see it. Well, it will be a process. We'll first need to run it through an organization separate from the government. We don't need all of these watchdog groups looking over our shoulders every minute. Then we need this organization to set up facilities in and around our low-income communities. We need this organization to be the place for young black women to go for counsel, help, and who can relieve them of their quote-unquote problem in one visit. I don't know, it seems like we're banking on this quite a bit. What if it doesn't work? Well, let's put it this way. If something isn't done by the year 2020, the population of blacks in this country will exceed 65 million. Forget feeding, clothing, and housing them. They will decide a lot of elections. They will have a lot of power. But how are you going to get them to accept this? A lot of people, especially in the black community, feel as though abortion is murder. I'm not sure if they'll accept this. Accept it. When we are done, they will be holding signs demanding the right for an abortion. They will vote for any and every candidate who pushes abortion. They will learn to despise any person who fights for their unborn children's lives. In so doing, we will rid this country of tens of millions of black people. Now, that's a fictitious conversation, but we're going to look at facts and figures that will show that those conversations were had. And we need to understand that there was this push early on in the eugenics movement. Basically, they flooded the black community with birth control and all types of things, and the community continued to grow. And so the thing that they could do, or chose to do, was to control the population. I feel very strongly that our government has been involved in population control towards the black community, and has, in so doing, it's just tragic. It breaks my heart. Forget all the other conversations of racism, whatever. If you think about that from the time that Roe versus Wade happened, 19 million black babies have been killed. Where would they be? They would be in government, they would be in sports, they would be in education. They're gone. We took them away. And then when you consider that they would have kids and others would have kids, it's hard to get an estimate, but I was estimating that today there would be roughly 65 million black people in this country. I mean, think about that. 65 million. Today it's 40 million, 25 billion more people. What would life be like? What would have happened? What are the innovations, the education, that black people provide, what they continue to give to this country? And yet we have made sure that the population and the numbers stay at a certain level, and in so doing, who knows what we've lost in this country. So let me go through some statistics to back up this conversation. Actually, let me go to another conversation, because this is a true, absolute, happened conversation with Richard Nixon, who, of course, all of his tapes were made public of his conversations and his meetings. And so if you think that I'm far off in the conversations that I've created and things I've said, I want you to listen to this. This is Richard Nixon. He says, a majority of people in Colorado voted for abortion. I think a majority of people in Michigan are for abortion. I think in both cases, well, certainly in Michigan, they will vote for it because they think that what's going to be aborted are little black, and I won't say the word, starts with a B. That's a quote from Richard Nixon. He's on to say, as I told you, and we talked about it earlier, that I guess I can't say this word, H-E-double-L. I don't know what you can say on the radio.
H-E-double hockey stick.
Yeah, there you go. As I told you and talked about earlier, that word, a lot of people want to control all the Negro, and our word again, B, unidentified staffer on tape. Yeah. And Richard Nixon said, you know what we're talking about, population control. And the other person says, sure. That's on a tape. And so the discussions were being had. And as we get into the various chapters, we're going to see that even the founder of Planned Parenthood, working closely with the government, had meetings, and this is all a part of history, had meetings with different people in the Hitler administration. And we can see some quotes where they've said, we've really got to look at what Hitler's doing as a model for the rest of the world. And so through eugenics, they were trying to keep certain populations down and increase other populations. Now, we've had debates over racism, and you know, I've said I don't believe in systemic racism in this country. I believe there is racism. But this is the ultimate statement of racism, the absolute ultimate, because if you listen to all the shows, you know, we learned that defining racism is when you think your race is better than another or another race is worse. And this was established because the people thought that black people were inferior. And they thought that they could throw them away and thought that they could kill them or whatever. It is so with abortion taking place, it is the ultimate statement from the government, we are superior to the black community. I mean, it is. And so we can look at other things. Well, someone said this and that, and they're racist, and we twist this word or whatever. That happens. But it's all to take us off of the truth in things. And the truth is that abortion was predominantly pushed and legalized to keep the population of certain people down. I've talked a long time. Tell me whenever I need to take a break.
Well, yeah, your timing is great because we do need to take a break, but I just want to let anyone who's just tuned in know that we are speaking with Pastor Todd Rawlings and Cordial Conversations. He is in no way making any judgments if you do consider abortion to be something okay. He is not judging you on that. He's just letting you know that this is planned by the government to keep our numbers down. So if you have an opinion after the break, if you'd like to have a respectful and cordial conversation with Pastor Todd Rawlings, please don't hesitate to call us before the hour is up. 757-454-1650, 454-1650. We'll be right back with more cordial conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings.
I'm keeping the video running, so I'm not doing too much chatter. But it's a little dim, but I think I can see. I'm fine.
Do you need some more light?
I don't. I think I'm okay. I can see well enough. I may need to plan for that next time around, though. So.
Because we can use that light that you
yeah.
from the table.
It seemed like there was only one place to plug this in.
Yeah, but you can clip that on either side of the table.
Well, I don't want you to have to fool with it right now. We'll.
No, I'm talking about our light.
Oh.
That was on the table.
Yeah.
That could possibly help you.
Okay. Well, there was in the place for the power. There was only one place to plug in something, so I plugged this in. There wasn't room for
Okay, I got you.
for this other.
I understand now. Let's see.
So basically, I just come in and messed everything up.
No, you didn't. I see what you're talking about now. It won't reach.
Yeah, unless that one with a cord will. I don't know. But it's okay. I can see well enough. So. Even I guess if it's just stuck right here in the corner and pointing this direction, it provides some more light. Yeah, that helps. That helps a lot. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. You are Mr. Jack of all trades, aren't you?
No, I don't think so. Wish I was a master of at least one. So the pastor that I heard was in here with you last week. Did he help sponsor your show?
No.
Well, that's how you should push it.
Yeah.
You should push it as sponsor my show and you get to come up here with me and talk with me,
Yeah.
as long as it's cordial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Todd, I think you should get some sponsors. They want to talk with you. Excuse me.
We're also super enthused to bring Gen Energy to consumers. This is a power factor correction unit installed in your home or business, and it absolutely helps reduce high energy bills from power companies.
Learn more about these amazing products. Visit HowardSuperstore.com. That's HowardSuperstore.com.
Hi, I'm Ford Jackson, one of the new owners of B-Town Barbecue.
Hi, I'm James Summer.
I think another topic, maybe next week or in the future, would be good about mixed marriages.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Because really, mixed marriages that, to me, that produce children brings together both the races, and we're just making a whole nother race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that would be a great topic. It'd be nice to have someone to come in to help talk about some of that too, just because I don't know everything.
No one does.
So, sometimes my kids tell me I know nothing, but it's somewhere in between everything and nothing. It just falls in that category.
Pastor, that's every living soul on this planet. Not one soul on this planet knows everything.
Well, and the more people get in the conversation, the more you learn, because someone has always thought of something that you did not think of,
Right.
or they know something that you do not know.
Right.
And so that's, so yeah, that would be a fun
And that to
conversation.
me is what brings us together, because I'm bringing what my life experiences have been to the table, and you're bringing your life experiences to the table. And with both of those, we have 7 minutes. There's a solution in there somewhere.
Yep.
You are inside Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings, and he wants to hear from you. 757-454-1650. We are talking about one of the chapters of his book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. And in this chapter, he approaches the topic of abortion and how the government has used abortion as a hidden agenda against the Black community. Is that correct, Pastor?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the things that we need to hold our government, both sides of the aisle, absolutely hold them accountable for. Because it's just been devastating. And I will say before I go on, because I always forget these things, but please, on Amazon.com, you can find Killing Me Softly. You can go to Cordial Conversations on my website, and you can order it there. Our church is New Life Community Church on 129 North Wichita Road. So, and I'm still looking for sponsors and people that will contribute to keep the show going, so we can get this information out. But so as we look at abortion, one of the things I've said over and over is that if we can just get government officials to, when there is a topic that is being proposed or debated, that someone will say, how does this affect the Black community? We're looking at different ways to deal with racism or whatever, but if that were just asked, we said that as far as having open borders, how does that affect the Black community? It affects them terribly. And so abortion is promoted over and over. How does that affect the Black community? And it actually affects the Black community at a higher rate than any other population group. Black women of childbearing years makes up 14% of every woman in their childbearing years. That's not a lot, 14% of the country. However, 36% of all abortions were obtained by Black women. There's a ratio that is almost 2 to 1. For every time 2 Black babies are born, 1 is aborted. The ratio is just about that. The ratio is 474 abortions per 100 or per 1,000 live births. Since Roe versus Wade, there's been 44 million abortions, Now think about this. Of 44 million, 19 million have been black babies, which tells you that the black community may hold 12% of the population, but has almost half the abortions in this country, though, have been killing black babies. And again, I will submit to you, it has been from the beginning a way to control the population and to keep the black community at bay. The population of blacks in 1973, I mentioned, was 23 million. It's 40 million today. Without abortion, it could be 65 million. The country has manipulated young black women into choosing abortions. It would be a completely different topic if it weren't for the fact that there has been aggressive push by our government into minority communities. There's about 75% of all abortion clinics in this country are by a low-income neighborhood. Now, why that? Because they're targeting that group of people. And it also happens with low-income white people and whatever, too. So it's not just, that. But that's where it is. That's where the resources are put. That's what happened. Now, why? Well, there's a couple different things. One is it keeps too much power from being in the hands of our black community. You can do a lot more with 65 million people. A lot more, in a lot of different ways. The other thing is then too, to save money. Now, some of these may be difficult to hear, so this is, let's balance this out. But at the same time, abortions in this country has saved our country millions and millions and millions of dollars. The corrections in this country currently cost $81 billion per year. From 70 to 2013, it quadrupled. Blacks make up 40% of all those incarcerated. Reducing the black population saves the country billions. Now, reducing other individuals, races, whatever, does the same. So I'm not just picking on the black community and say, hey, yeah, they cost a lot. But it started from even the days of slavery, because when slavery ended, you had a large amount of people that, now what do? Their skills are mostly in the South in farming and whatever. The North was afraid that they would move there. South no longer had need for them, and they couldn't own them and use them. They got tremendously rich off of the back of slavery. So all those things happened, but now they're free. And they even dubbed it during the time the Negro problem. What do we do now? Because we have these people that are uneducated, not tremendously skilled and whatever, and not through fault of their own, because that was their lot as a slave. They weren't allowed those things. But now it's going to come back to bite the country, because you didn't allow them to progress, and now they're out there and they're free. And what's going to happen? And of course, what's going to happen is the country's going to become bankrupt. So that's where you even got organizations like the KKK and whatever. There was still an effort to hold back the population, all of those things. And let me tell you again, of all the things you can argue is racism and not racism, this is the ultimate racism, because they just thought the black community was throwaways. And there were even conversations, and led by the person who started Planned Parenthood, said we have to figure out how we can completely extinguish the black race if we need to. So they were thinking about that. They were sterilizing young black women, large amounts at a young age, at 13 years old. They were doing that, and so they saw black people as less than humans. the total amount of spending a year in 83 federal welfare programs is $1 trillion. About 41.6 of the black population participate in welfare programs. Now, let me say this too. I'm not here even saying, oh yeah, look at the black community, they're not working, whatever. No, just the opposite. The government established those things to make them dependent on the government. So everything from public housing to welfare to whatever, they put those, I firmly believe, they put those in place to keep control and to move into families. And now they're the father. Now, so the father comes home bringing a paycheck. Don't worry, you will take care of it. So they did this to the black community. And then, having done it, now they've got to reduce the population or we're going to go bankrupt. So it's a sad thing, and why I say this is the ultimate form of racism is that it was all about nickels and dimes, and it's all been about the fact that there are people that just do not relish black individuals as human beings. And so that's it. That's been our government. That's kind of what the book is about. White women are 5 times less likely to have an abortion than a black woman. Why? Well, I would submit to you that it is mostly the availability of it. If we have the community I live in and they are selling hamburgers and there's 3 shops all around, and then you go to another community and there are none, who's going to eat more hamburgers? We are. And if there's a sign on every street corner, come eat them, we are. And so that's what's happened. It has nothing about morality, while white women are 5 times less likely. It has everything to do with these places are put within walking distance and then told over and over, come, we want to help you, we want to do whatever, and on, and then they lead young ladies into a day where it's just time to get rid of your baby. I said before, actually 79% of Planned Parenthood surgical abortion facilities are located within walking distance of a minority community. Now think about it, 70% of them. And some of these are huge. They're like a hospital. And they put them where they want them, and they make them accessible. They bring them in for counseling, love on them, and what have you, and then get rid of their babies. The prevalence of abortion providers in African American and Hispanic neighborhoods does indicate that the abortion industry is targeting them. And to the same reason that Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, it's the same eugenics program. They want to decide what race, what group is better than the next, and then they're going to get rid of them. And that's just a fact. So we need to, as we're looking at our leaders, we need to take a step back, because I've said this over and over. It's one thing to listen to people. It's one thing to believe them. But when you listen to the same people over and over, and they are hiding these facts and trying to promote other type of facts that you'll think about, and then of course tell you that they love you and they're killing you softly.
That's the name of the book.
Yeah.
Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community by Pastor Todd Rawlings. If you've just joined us, this is Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings, and we are addressing one of the chapters in Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community, and that particular chapter deals with abortion. And it may be an ugly thing, but it's the reality of what's going on. And I think you asked the question about, why is it that white women don't get as many abortions as black women do? And I think you said because of the availability there.
I think the availability, and again, believe me, I think that the government programs and things were set up to control the black community, and they will leave so many in utter poverty, and then bring them in to counsel them and convince them this is a good thing to do. So I think a large reason of that discrepancy is that they are targeted, but also because we have helped to put them in a bad economic state in their family, where then they may be told there's a need, don't bring this baby into the world. So I think it's a couple different things. I really don't think it has as much to do about the morality either way, as much as again, it's marketed. And it is absolutely marketed. Every flyer, I mean, you not only are there 79% of them within walking distance, but flyers will go out. They'll go door to door to, hey, come in. And of course they call it, family counseling. And the family counseling ends up, let's go to the abortion clinic and take care of this. And so it is just a mass marketing strategy. Abortion has been from the beginning a mass marketing strategy that has targeted minorities of all type, but especially our black community.
And I'm always going to break it down to economics. I mean, I feel like the bottom line for your book and how the government has it out for my people is economics. It's just
Absolutely.
economics, because do you know who the majority of people on this planet are? Do you know who they are?
Well, I want to say Asians because of
And you're
China.
absolutely right.
Oh, okay, great.
And the number one spoken language on this planet, when I ask people, what's the number one spoken language on this planet? They're always going to say English or Spanish. I'm like, no, it's Mandarin Chinese. Why? Because they're the majority of people on the planet.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've seen a lot of that even take place now, that where China does some horrible things with their workers, with their people, whatever, but you get people here that will not take a stand on that. You know why? The money.
Economics.
We're selling way too much things to them. Don't be saying that stuff. Don't upset them. Don't, whatever. We're in business together.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then the second one is who? Where I asked you that I want to go.
Okay, now I want to say that it would be blacks. No?
No.
Second.
Where did I say I wanted to?
Oh, India.
Yes.
Oh, yes. See, I wasn't thinking of that necessarily of the own race. But
India.
India. So
Asians have the majority of population on the planet, and next to them are the Indians. So I don't know why anyone's worried about our population growing when they're the two main populations on the planet.
yeah. Well, but I don't want to get too much into conspiracy theory things, but I do think there's questions we need to ask, because even with that, you look at this virus, and assuming it came out of China, I believe that's a good assumption, assuming it came out of a lab,
Exactly.
that they are experimenting to take diseases that animals have and make it so we can get them. And China, why? They want to control their population. Just got out of hand. And now it came here, and now, the whole thing. So, yeah, it's
You don't
sad.
hear it in the media about them going after the people who created it in the lab. Why? Why aren't we going after the people who are creating these diseases in laboratories? Why aren't we going after them instead of making the population wear masks and get vaccinated? Why are we going after these people? Why are they trying to create these things anyway? To me, that is a crime against humanity, no matter what color you are.
No, and you're absolutely right, because it baffles me that with the coronavirus, that there's arguments or debates over, well, was this being experimented let loose, or was this that? And then, of course, all the government officials in with China are going to deny it because, they're making money there and whatever. So, they're going to do that. But what I don't, exactly what you're saying, but just forget that for a second. Why is a country experimenting with animal viruses that'll kill human beings? And that question hasn't been asked. And it's again, there's so much of a thing that you'll misdirect what's true. So no one even asked that.
I have a
Oh.
conspiracy theory. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I love them.
Well, you remember Jeffrey Epstein
Yeah.
and Ghislaine, whatever his mistress?
Yeah.
You don't hear about them in the news anymore.
No, you don't. Got a whole list of names that were.
Uh-huh. The little black book of all the celebrities who went to his island for the pedophilia parties. Yeah, we don't hear about that anymore. It's all been about the pandemic. It's all been about the masks. And then
Yeah.
here enter the Olympics, which just ended, the Summer Olympics. So, the media is controlled. Like you said in the beginning of your shows about a month or two ago, the media is controlled by the government. And I feel like that, it is a distraction from these celebrities and powerful people like the Queen's, one of her, Queen Elizabeth's sons, traveling over to Epstein's Island. We don't hear about that
No.
anymore. So that's my little conspiracy.
And they were
theory.
caught red-handed. And it's amazing in those situations how you end up having so many people commit suicide involved in it. And again, so here we're going real conspiracy, but I lean that way. And so, I heard last week, even with the thing that happened on January the 6th, 3 different policemen working that day have killed themselves.
Working the day
January the 6th, when there was the uprising and the protests and at the House. So
the White House?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, but what was so bad about them that they needed to or felt the need to kill themselves,
Yeah.
or did they just know a little too much?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That now we're really conspiracy theory,
Yes.
but we're but I love to do it. I love to
Yeah,
read the
definitely.
things and.
It makes you think. It makes you think beyond what the media is showing
Yeah.
you. But listen, and once again, if you just joined us, this is Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings. We are speaking on one of the chapters in his book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. It's chapter 6. Am I saying that Roman numeral right?
Yes.
The I and then the X is a 6.
Yep.
It's open
Yeah.
their eyes so they may see. And it's about abortion. And you should really get this book. It's on Amazon.com. But we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll probably have time for maybe 2 calls if you'd like to call in. 454-1650, 454-1650. But please don't go anywhere. You're on Praise.
WTJZ Praise Radio.
We're talking.
Yes, this is went by fast, even though no one's calling.
Yeah.
Did they call last week with the other man?
Yeah, we had a couple. It was actually very good. Yeah,
So yeah, I suggest, and of course it's your show, you do what you want, but I really suggest that if you say to your sponsors, listen, come sponsor me, and it's your way of getting on the radio with me to give your opinion, but in, of course, a respectful and cordial way, and that way you can promote your church or whatever you have going on. You know, let the pastor know, or business person, whoever it is that sponsors you, that wants to come, that'll give them a chance to promote their business or their church. You want to say that on the air today?
I can certainly say that.
I think that'll really boost people wanting to sponsor you.
As long as we don't draw any crazies that you and I are sitting here going, uh-oh, what do we get into with someone? But we can, obviously people have reputations and
I don't think
references.
the crazies are going to have enough money to sponsor you like that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But then again, who knows? There are crazy people who are rich too. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah,
But we can control them, because
Sure.
don't let the little size, well, I have a little stomach pudge, but don't let this littleness fool you, because I'll body slam them out of the studio if they get out of hand.
Okay.
And the Sisters of Faith and the Mighty Gospel Sound. Sunday, September 5th, 3:30 p.m. Admission is $20. State banks, $25 at the door. Get your tickets by calling Sister Ann Williams at 757-749-5289 or call Deborah at 977-7439. The pastor, Reverend Dr. Travis D. Judkins at the Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church on Whiteville Avenue in Chesapeake. Sunday, September 5th.
The ladies' lounge Lounge Foundation is hosting a back-to-school breakfast Saturday, August 28th to help families and educators start the new school year with the necessary tools. The event is from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at 6220 Indian River Road in Virginia Beach. You can help by providing monetary donations, school supplies, headphones, computers, tablets, food, snacks, and drinks, as well as items like tissue, hand sanitizer, and Ziploc bags. Call the Ladies Lounge Foundation at 757-805-9739 for more information about the back-to-school breakfast drive Saturday, August 28th in Virginia Beach. That's 757-805-9739. Remember, your donation of goods and services will help ensure that 200 students and 50 educators in Hampton Roads will have a tremendous head start on the new school year.
Did you need some water?
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. If there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And for reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. Hey, Praise family, check out our website, praise1049.com. That's praise1049.com. This is the place for all things praise. You can learn about us, check out the features we bring to you daily, submit your prayer requests, take advantage of marketing opportunities, a place to submit music, the hub to connect with us socially, and the place to put faces to the voices you hear on the station. All things praise. Check us out, praise1049.com.
Welcome back to Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings, and we are talking about his book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. We are in chapter 6, Open Their Eyes So They May See. A very short chapter. That's what I love about his book. The chapters are very, for people like me. It's a great read, easy read, and this is about something very touchy, and that's about abortion and how the government has used that tool of abortion to keep the black community at bay, or heal, H-E-E-L, heals like a dog, right, Pastor Rollins?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We have time for maybe one or two phone calls, 757-454-1650, 454-1650. But Pastor Rollins, did you want to, share my idea about your sponsor, getting a sponsor?
Yeah, we had a guest last week and went very, very well. If you're out there, the head of an organization or something like that, and you would like some time to just be in the radio and explain it and have an issue that we can talk about, please, especially you can become a sponsor for the program, and we can get some access here for that. So if you're willing to do it. Well, I'm sorry.
In other words, if you would like to have an actual face-to-face, sit-down talk, cordial conversation with Pastor Todd Rawlings about his book, then you can call. Is there a number they can call you?
How about if they would email me at rawlingsmt@verizon.net.
Rawlings, R-A-W-L-I-N-G-S, M is in man, T is in Tom, Rawlings MT at, what was it, Gmail?
At verizon.net.
At Verizon, Rawlings MT at verizon.com. He would love to sit down and hear your opinion and your conspiracy theories, if you have any. Just email him, and you all can talk about sponsorship. And if you have a business, you definitely might want to get on board with this to advertise your business. If you have a church, you want to get on board with this to let everybody know about your church. But this is very compelling. I feel like we do need to come together, because the government does not care about us. If you think that the government cares about you, I feel so bad for you. I really do. I think that the government uses the media to keep us apart.
Well, if we have a few more minutes,
Yes.
I want to read a couple more excerpts from the book. And the next two chapters are also on this topic. So again, if you can pick up the book and read it, and then you can come in with some questions or ideas or comments, please do that. But we went all the way back to slavery, and we won't do that. We won't go any further back. But again, I mentioned it was called the Negro Dilemma. And they were trying to think of a way of controlling the population. And here's the type of things that you heard. A person by the name of Francis Galton, who was actually a cousin of Charles Darwin, he summed it up that what most people believed at the time, and I know these things are hard to hear, but it's part of history. Average Negroes possess too little intellect, self-reliance, and self-control to make it possible for them to sustain the burden of any respectable form of civilization without a large measure of external guidance and support. So that was the thought process, and they were just for years trying to find a way to control the population, or trying to control it, until eventually they hit a home run with abortion. I would like to read just a couple quotes, also from some people, and one from Margaret Sanger. Now, this is a person that started Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood is a place where millions and millions of our tax dollars go. And so here was a quote from her. We are paying and even submitting to the dictates of an ever-increasing class of humans that never should have been born at all. And so she is talking predominantly about the black community. Here's one from Madison Grant. He was a co-founder of the American Eugenics Society. The laws of nature requires the obliteration of the unfit, and human life is valuable only when it is of use to the community or race. And of course, how would he define power use? Same thing you said. It's all about the money.
Pastor Rollins, we do have a caller.
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rollins. You're live on the air. Go ahead.
I don't even know where to begin. Because when you begin to talk about black and white as far as a pastor's position, and understand a pastor is one that's called after God's heart. When from a pastor position, and he's supposed to be teaching kingdom, is spiritual. It's never black. It's never white. It's never blue. And when you look into Scripture, and Scripture is clearly telling you that our fight is not black. It's against spiritual weakness and high places. When you teach from that point, then nobody gets offended but the devil. But anytime you bring it down to a class of people or a certain religious organization, then that's when you get the flesh fight. And me personally, I'm highly offended when a pastor that's preaching the gospel and knows that we're not in the flesh but in the spirit, even so now we're seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. We're spiritual, and everything we speak is supposed to be spiritual. It's never supposed to condescend to a particular color. We have to understand that the devil has no color, only influence. And he'll influence white, black, Jew, Gentile. It makes no difference. Anybody that killing a body that will allow this demon to possess their thoughts and minds and alter their character, he can use them.
I'm running out of time. I apologize. I wish you would have called earlier.
Yeah, I'll just respond.
I would love to partner with Camp and sponsor with Camp and come in.
You want to sponsor him?
And have conversation with them.
Okay, did you hear that, Pastor?
What's that?
He wanted to sponsor you and come in and talk with you and have a sit-down cordial conversation.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Just connect with me on email. But just in response, I understand what you're saying. I think that as Christians, one of the things that we have to strive for in this world is justice. And Jesus talked about that, and that he was going to bring justice. And unfortunately, we can say as Christians, well, we can't talk about black people and white people. Well, the government is, and programs are, and all these things are happening. So we need to stand up and make our voices heard as well. And, when these things are facts of history and these things have taken place, then we need to be able to stand up and expose them. We need to expose, ugliness and hatred and racism and all of those things that happen. So I guess for us to just let other people take over and we do nothing to talk about it. I mean, the reality of it is there are different races in the world, and some have been mistreated and some have been abused and some still are. And so I would just differ in that as a pastor, I think that's one of my number one roles, to make sure that there is justice and to make sure that we hold people accountable. And so so we would disagree in that I think absolutely it is something that Christian churches, organizations, pastors, I think it's things that we need to talk about, because there's people hurting. So how is it going to change if we don't do something? Just let people do what they want to do.
So the caller, can you give them your email address so that they can connect with you as far as sponsoring and coming on board and having a cordial conversation with you?
That's rawlingsmt@verizon.net.
rawlingsmt@verizon.net. RAWLINGS, M as in man, T as in Tom, at verizon.net. rawlingsmt@verizon.net. Okay, caller, please, are you going to try to connect with them?
I so very will.
All right. And we thank you and appreciate you listening and calling in, okay?
Sure.
All right. Have a great day. That has been another edition of Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd